First of all,
this is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
It might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the show. I want to get right to our first guest. He's an Olympic champ. He's a 5-time world champ. He's the host of Season 3 of The Contender, which premieres on Tuesday on HBO. And if that's not enough, he was my favorite boxer growing up. Ray Leonard, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Is the world champ thing, is it 5-time world champ or five? How is that described? I'm always confused.
Well, I won a title in 5 different weight divisions.
Right. So does that make you the 5-division champ?
5 division champ.
5-time?
5 times.
All right, let's do 5-time. We got to talk about.
Let's get that straight.
Yeah.
I was a 6-time world champion in 5 different weight divisions.
Yeah, so you were a 6-time champ.
Right.
But you were the first one who did the 5 different weight divisions.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although the Donnie Lalonde fight was a little suspicious.
But it worked.
It was somehow 2 weight classes, but he was underneath the weight class of one of them. I forget how that worked out, but we'll give it to you.
But technically speaking, he put his title on the line.
Yeah. We got to talk about the old days from the 76 Olympics through the second Hearns fight. I'm not kidding. I watched every televised fight you had. I think I was 6 during the 76 Olympics, but that whole boxing team, I was in love with that whole team. Looking back, what was your favorite fight, the one that you were the most proud of?
From professional?
Yeah, professional.
I must say, I mean, there are 2 fights that comes to mind when I think of my favorites, and that has to be when I unified the title with Tommy Hearns back in '81.
Right.
And from a personal accomplishment, beating the odds against Hagler.
Right.
That was, a personal triumph for me.
Well, we're going to talk about the Hagler fight, but I got to talk about the Hearns fight because that is my single favorite boxing match of all time. It was September 13th, 1981, right before pay-per-view started. It was about, I would say, like 4 or 5 years before you could have the parties where you invite everybody over, you watch the fight. So I actually watched that fight with my dad in the Boston Garden. They had the big screens up, the closed circuit screens,
right.
And the place was packed. Half the people were rooting for Hearns, half the people were rooting for you. And that was one of the all-time great fights just from how many swings there were. Like, you dominated. At one point it looked like you were knocking him out in the 5th or 6th round. Then he came back. You turned into the puncher. He turned into the boxer. Then you finally got him. It's an amazing fight to rewatch.
I think it's one of those fights where because of the ebb and flow, it was, first Tommy was pretty much dictating the fight in the very first, the first 5 rounds maybe.
Yeah.
Then I hurt him, and then I started becoming the slugger, the puncher.
Yeah.
And he became the boxer, and it went deep into the rounds. It was a very, very tough and very physical fight for me.
How long did it take you to recover from that one?
That took a few weeks maybe.
Yeah.
Just because it was far more just physical. It was a mental aspect. It was a psychological aspect that required me to beat him.
And the other thing about a fight like that versus what we saw recently with Mayweather De La Hoya is, and I hate to do the back in the day thing where it's like back in the day things were so much better, but
right.
I look at the big fights now, and a lot of times it looks like a glorified sparring session. Like Mayweather De La Hoya, I never felt like those guys were really fighting for the championship of each other and that it was a war. But like when you and Hearns got together for that first fight, it was really like, it was really the championship. Like one of you guys needed to win that fight, and you laid everything out in the line. It just doesn't seem like it happens anymore in boxing.
It was about bragging rights. It was about pride. It was about, come on, put up or shut up. And but we also, what I find today is that there are very few moments in a fight that you will remember for the rest of your life.
Right.
Whether it's a 3rd round, knocked down, or a 5th round being cut and coming back from adversity, because that's what defines greatness.
Yeah.
It's when you're behind and get knocked down and you come back.
Yeah.
and you regain your composure, and you come back and win.
Yeah, and that first Hearns fight, it really looked like he was going to win. Like he had it seemed like he had solved you, and he was doing the boxing thing, which was crazy because at the time he was like this knockout maniac, and so the roles were reversed, and it didn't look like you were going to get him, and then you finally caught him. But the other factor that was a 15-round fight, and now everything's 12 rounds. Can we have those wars now like we had back in the day when everything went 15?
I think you still can have those wars. I think it depends upon the fighter, and because again, our whole main objective was to win at any cost, because it was about being the champion, the undisputed champion.
Yeah.
And now, because there's so many self-governing bodies, there's so many just belts being tossed around, it kind of dilutes in a sense.
Yeah.
That championship moment.
I hate what's happened with it really started in the 80s when all of a sudden you had like 3-4 champions for each division. But I do feel like it was different because like you look at your career when you were coming up, and you were already making some money. You were commercially, you were doing well. You had the famous commercial with your son, and but that didn't stop you. Like you were in 3 wars because the Benitez fight was a war.
Oh, big time. That was a very physical fight too.
Yeah, and the first Duran fight, which everybody thought you were crazy because you decided you weren't going to box him, you were actually going to fight him, and that went 15, and then the first Hearns fight went 14.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, if somebody was in your position right now and they were commercially viable and they were making all this money, if they would even want to go through wars like that.
But that's the character in me, because people looked at me, because even back then when I came from the Olympics and turned pro in 1977, I was looked upon or characterized more so as a network-made fighter, kind of a not real fighter.
A pretty boy.
Yeah, it was like that. It wasn't until I fought Duran and lost to Duran and showed my heart.
Yeah.
And going the distance with Duran, that they said, hell, the kid can fight.
Well, the Benitez fight should have proven that to people.
But I think the Benitez fight did prove that to a degree. But I think that the Duran fight kind of really put a stamp of approval on my resume.
Well, that might be all fine and dandy, but it basically ruined me as a kid. I don't think I hated Duran so much, and he was such a jerk during that fight. And even at the end, like, you go to shake hands with him, and he just kind of like basically stuck his tongue at you and walked away. I really wanted you to just kill him.
No,
and then that made it so great when you had the rematch and you fought him the way you should have fought him in the first fight because you were too quick for him, and you made him quit.
But he showed me, but Duran really, that loss in Montreal back in 1980 really taught me, it matured me, it gave me experience to understand that there's also the mental aspect of boxing.
Right.
Duran got into my head. He really took me out of my game plan.
Yep.
And that worked, and I started using that on other fighters.
You mean he took you out of your game plan, that you became more of a puncher that night than you had intended? I got it.
Yeah, he talked so much trash, and he challenged my manhood that I said, you know what, I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to fight him. I'm going to beat him at his own game.
Right.
And I could never let that go for 15 rounds. I just couldn't. For some reason, I could not let that go.
He's one of those guys that now at this point has slipped through the cracks. I think partly because he fought for so long after he was good that people forgot, like, when he was actually good. But him and Chavez were the two guys that it just seems like they would have been such a nightmare to fight when they're in their prime. Like, they just kept coming forward. You could never shake them for like 1 second,
Duran was relentless. He was like a Tasmanian devil, man. He just had such a fury and a fire, and he just had that look.
Yeah.
I mean, that piercing stare. I mean, Duran was indeed a fighter.
And then Tommy knocked him out. He was never the same.
Oh,
that was one of the greatest hooks of all time.
Oh. No, a right hand.
A right hand, I'm sorry.
Oh,
yeah. Overhand right.
Oh, overhand right was I was there at that fight also I think I was doing it for, I don't know what network, but, God, it was unbelievable. It was an incredible, dramatic knockout.
Well, I remember before you fought Hearns the first time, I watched him just beat the hell out of Pepino Cuevas. I think that was his name.
I was there too.
Yeah, and I remember thinking like, oh my God, he's going to kill Ray. This is it. I'm going to watch my guy die.
I said the same thing.
Yeah. So you suffered a detached retina in '82.
Right.
Devastating. Everyone thought you were finished. You came back against Kevin Howard, didn't look that good. You retired again. Then you came back for Hagler and ended up fighting a few times after that. Were you ever fully recovered from the eye injury?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I was smart enough to know that if it was that much of a risk, I wouldn't have taken it. But my ophthalmologist said, Ray, by the way, if you want to resume your career, you can.
Yeah.
But there was such an outpour of concern from the public, from the world actually, that everyone was really opposed to me taking that chance, taking that risk. But then again, that's what made me who I am.
Yeah.
Was rather, I should say, by assuming those risks, fighting the Hearns, fighting the Rands, fighting Haglers, because that made me a fighter.
Yeah, people are very protective of you.
They were very protective of me.
And usually that doesn't happen with boxers. Usually boxers are just like the gladiators we sent out there to beat the crap out of each other. But in your case, people are like, no, don't come back.
I got so many letters in the mail from just people just saying, please, just don't. You have enough. You're happy. Just go. Go to the park.
Right.
It was really.
You talked about the mind games that you learned from the Duran fight. You played some with Hagler, including like the big ceremony where it was unclear whether you were going to retire or not, and you invited Hagler, and everybody thought you were going to announce that you wanted to fight him, and instead you threw the curveball at him and said, but unfortunately, it'll never happen.
I know.
And they cut to Hagler, and Hagler looked like he just watched $20 million walk out the door, basically. Was that all intentional? Did you always think you were going to fight him?
No. I just felt that I wanted a little more drama to the press, to my press conference or my goodbye speech.
Yeah.
And I invited him, but I just knew that would never come to fruition. That was over. That was the last thing on anyone's mind, let alone my mind.
But then
Yeah.
You watched, I think you were in the audience when he fought the Beast, John Mugabe.
Yeah.
Which was one of the all-time fantastic
Were
lost
you there?
fights.
Were you there?
I was not there, but I watched it, and neither guy was ever the same.
No, I mean, that was one of the most physically punishing fights I've seen in quite some time with Hagler and John Beast Mugabe.
Yep.
They banged each other, they hit each other, they hurt each other, but Hagler's heart prevailed. Hagler came through, and Hagler has the biggest heart of any boxer that I've known, and because Hagler was in trouble himself, he was in big trouble.
Yeah.
But he came back.
You watched that fight, and you thought,
oh, yeah.
Okay, he's taking a beating in this fight. Maybe I can come back and take him now.
It wasn't really the beating per se. It was really the fact that he was a step slower.
Yeah.
And he was being outboxed by a guy who was he's a fighter. I mean, he's a puncher.
Yeah.
Mugabe's not a boxer. And I said, you know what? If I'm like 75% if I get back 75% of my skill,
yeah,
I can beat this guy.
And what people didn't know, which I just found out about this recently, when you were, you just announced you were fighting Hagler again. You had no tune-up fights, nothing. But as it turned out, you were secretly fighting 10 and 12-round fights without headgear against guys, right?
What I did, I had the luxury to bring in official judges. I brought in an official referee. I brought in the guys from the punch stat. And I had 4 fights in my gym with middleweights from all over the country.
Yeah.
And I gave them 10-ounce gloves with headgear, and I wore 14-ounce gloves with no headgear. And I went about 15 rounds. I had about 3 or 4 fights in the gym. And I actually got cut. So I got used to being hit again, which is a big component of being out of the ring for so long.
How come you never told anybody about this? You just didn't want to give away the edge?
Well, for me, it was just getting that feeling back. But I never. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't say anything to anyone.
I think it was a smart move.
Yeah. Oh, it was for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Because
Hagler,
by the way, was out of the ring for at least a year or so, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he was, and doing God knows what. And the fight ended up turning into one of the all-time great boxing arguments. And I personally have gotten into shouting matches with people about who won this fight, because I feel strongly that you won the fight mainly because Hagler was so ineffective. Like, he just looked slow, he missed a ton of punches, he looked terrible. Others argue that the champ should not lose his title until it's taken away, and they didn't feel like he did quite enough to win it. Have you watched the fight since, and who do you think won?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, with my friends, with just people in general, and I see it on TV all the time.
Yeah.
But I beat him fair and square, and Hagler stated that I mentioned to him, I spoke to him after the fight, said, "You're still the champ." I did say you're still the champ to me. I said that before they announced the decision.
Yeah.
But Hagler knew he had lost because he did something totally uncharacteristic, and that was dancing around the ring. Do you recall that?
Of course I recall that. He's
never done that.
No, never. He was actually very un-Hagler-like that whole fight.
There you go. That's a great way to phrase it. He was un-Hagler-like.
Because he was you were making him mad when you were like doing some of the stuff you were pulling on him, and all. The old Hagler just would have taken it out on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was so disgusted by the result that he retired, moved to Italy, and was never seen again. Have you seen him since? Are you guys on good terms, decent terms?
I see him every blue moon, but we're very cordial and civil to one another. There's mutual respect, without question. I mean, naturally, it still burns at him.
Yeah.
But, Hagler, he's from old school, He carried his own bag. He had no entourage. It was just him and his trainer.
Yeah.
And that was him. And Hagler felt that, as he felt many years ago, that he was always scooped or duped by the system.
Yep. Well, and that started from when he was in England, and first he got the draw in the Vito Infermo fight. Right. Infermo, I forget how to pronounce that one. But,
Infermo, yes.
Yeah, he got totally boned on that. And then when he finally won the title in England, they showered the ring with beer bottles. They had to run out. So the Hearns fight was really the only time that he got his just due as the great fighter.
He became, you know what? Because all of a sudden he stepped up, his stock raised.
Yeah.
And he started doing endorsements, started doing commercials and stuff.
Yeah, he actually did a surprising amount of endorsements.
He did.
Like, you wouldn't have thought like he would be that a commercial of a guy. But so you made a couple of comebacks at the end. You got knocked around by Terry Norris and Hector Camacho.
I like when you phrase that, knocked around. I like that. I like it.
Knocked around. Yeah, that's what you play.
It's a nice way to phrase it.
What is it about boxing where whoever it is, whatever champ it is, they always have to come back that one time too many? Like, what is it that just you? It's almost like you guys, you have to know that you don't have it anymore.
Well, you know what? That's not necessarily true, because what happens, you look and you observe fighters, and you see they don't have your type of firepower or this or that.
Right.
And then what happens? You start searching. You start saying, nothing gives me, because nothing, until you accept the fact that nothing will give you that high that you receive as being world champion.
Yeah.
Till you stop searching for that, you can always continue to search for that missing piece.
And announcing isn't going to do it.
No. Until you accept that, and it took me a number of years to totally accept the fact that nothing will ever measure up to what I've done in the ring. That kind of feeling.
Right. Being the best at what you do, and having the crowd cheering you and all that
because
stuff.
Because for the 36 minutes or whatever, the world stops.
What kind of an entourage did you have at your peak?
I had an entourage big enough that my accountant said, "Ray, I think you should
cut it down."
Yeah, I had that many people.
Why? That's like another phenomenon that's unique to boxing. Is the better the fighter is, the entourage just starts to grow.
They come from somewhere. I had people carrying the water bucket, people carrying the water for the water bucket. It was crazy.
But you kind of you need that energy when you're going to the ring. It's nice to be surrounded by a bunch of guys.
No, it's fun. I mean, some of the guys were my boys, and some of the guys were boys that my brothers knew and my friends knew. But it just picks up. It's like a snowball. You roll a snowball down a mountain, that thing gets big eventually.
So, let's say, your entourage in the Hearns fight, how many of those guys do you keep in touch with?
My brothers, just my two brothers.
Yeah, everybody else kind of fades away. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But your entourage wasn't as big as some of the other ones.
Well, put it this way: the entourage that I had, in all due respect, we were good. Most guys were my friends.
Yeah.
And I knew them well. And they, I enjoy them being around. I enjoy that camaraderie. If I miss anything about boxing, it was my training camp.
Yeah.
When I went to camp, I had my mother and father, my aunt, my brothers. I had my friends there. I enjoy that. And would I do it again? Yes, I would. Same way.
Well, you also, I think you were one of the first, if not the first fighter who really had a team that took care of his money from the get-go, right?
Yeah, I had good people. I had, Mike Trainer, who orchestrated my career and allowed me to become a free agent.
Yeah.
And I had good people.
Did you ever get involved with Don King or no?
No, didn't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you were like the first guy who wasn't like just basically run and ground out by the system, and you actually like made money from boxing.
Oh, I kind of control my own destiny, and
yeah.
Thank God. And I was blessed. Also, I was blessed due to the fact that back then boxing was always on network television.
Yeah.
And the Olympics was highly publicized by on ABC. I mean, Cousin Sal was my buddy.
Yep.
So the exposure was incredible back then.
And the other thing was that since we didn't have cable TV, there's really only like 5 or 6 channels. So when you were fighting on CBS, so many more people saw it than would see it now, or ABC, whatever channel you were on.
Exactly.
And now it's like I just wonder if boxing will ever matter like that anymore. I don't know if I'm a little kid now, do I become a huge fan of somebody like you? I don't know.
Well, if it's on ESPN, you'll watch it.
That's true. Which that's a very good transition, by the way.
It is.
You're starting the third season of The Contender on ESPN this Tuesday. Super middleweights this year. What's different about the show? Season 3.
I think season 3 is going to be fantastic. The reason I say that is because you'll see more interaction with the trainers, which is Buddy McGirt and Pepe Carrero, who's my trainer from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And you see more interaction with the boxers. I think the format that we change is awesome because now it is based upon each round, winning each round decisively because every round counts. And the boxers will be ranked based on their performance. In other words, a knockout is highest, the unanimous decision is higher than a split decision, and so on. So these boxers give their heart and soul in every round. They try to.
Yeah.
We also introduced the spark testing, which is used by some of the football players trying to apply for the NFL, whereas that these sophisticated tests is able to measure these guys' hand-eye coordination, their strength, their stamina, endurance, and it really allows us to weed out or evaluate those boxers who are less, lack strength or conditioning.
Yeah, and you dumped 2 of them in the season premiere.
Yeah, it was easy. I mean, really, it pointed, it didn't lie. The numbers don't lie.
Yeah. Do you see a day when we'll have a world champion who came from The Contender?
No question about that. I think from Alfonso Gomez to Sergio and Steve Forbes, no question about that. We will have a world champion from The Contender.
Last question. Why haven't they done heavyweights yet? I'm dying for the heavyweights.
Well,
Why
I tell you what,
happen?
it's funny you mention that because we had thought about that this third season. But maybe next season we'll have the heavyweights. And I think we need to search because I think, first of all, there has to be an American heavyweight. There is no American heavyweight champion. We need to find one, and The Contender will find them.
Yeah, because I feel like we've basically conceded the heavyweight division to the Russians.
I know.
It's terrible.
We'll get it back.
All right, Ray Leonard, good luck with the season. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, let's bring in my buddy Sal Iacono. You know him as Cousin Sal from Jimmy Kimmel Live. Every week during the NFL season, he calls me and reads me that week's NFL matchups. Then I try to guess the lines. So we thought it would be a strangely entertaining experience for the podcast listeners. So we're going to do the week 1 lines right now.
We might as well do it here, right?
Sal, welcome to the show.
What's happening, Bill?
How are you?
All right. I'm, excited. The air smells better, and you can breathe. I feel like I've been in prison for 7 months, and now here I am out. And
what time are you waking up? Like 6:30?
I'm now in the 6 o'clock hour. I can imagine by Sunday what it's going to be, but yeah, about 10 minutes earlier every day.
Do you like this Thursday night football opening day? I still feel like it should be Sunday.
I think it should be Sunday, and especially with the matchup too. Like they gave us Ollie Frazier on Thursday night. Start with Detroit at Oakland on Thursday night, whet our appetite, and then finish off with New Orleans Indy, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. They didn't need to waste a great game as the first game. They could have given us Oakland, Arizona. We would have been happy.
Yeah, everyone's going to have 13 fantasy players, and you're going to have to wait 72 hours for the rest. So,
all right, let's get going.
Let's do it. New Orleans at Indy.
New Orleans at Indy. I'm going to say 7 points.
That's exactly what I said, and they have it at 6.
Interesting.
So,
by the way, I meant Indy by 7. So that right away looks like a logical tease.
I think so. That's a good two-team tease at Team Indianapolis.
This
Thursday game
is weird.
They usually make you push on this. Sometimes they don't let you win on it. It could be like a 30-24 final or something, but
that could be a high-scoring affair.
Yeah, I like that one. I like it. Tennessee, and then Sunday it starts Tennessee at Jacksonville.
Tennessee at Jacksonville. I'm not sure what to make of this Jags team.
I know.
Statistically, they looked pretty good last year. I'm going to say Jacksonville by 4.
Yeah, I had 6, and it's 7. So Vegas likes them this year. Very high, yeah.
Yeah, that seems really high. So I'm way off. So for those of you who haven't heard this game, anytime I'm more than 2.5 or 3 points off, that means either I'm not doing my job well or the line is skewed. And in my opinion, that line is skewed because I don't think there's much difference between Tennessee and Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think there's a few more, too, coming up here. I was off by 5 points on one of these, but I'll keep reading. Pittsburgh at Cleveland.
Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Who's starting for Cleveland? Do we know for QB?
It's not going to be Martha Quinn or whatever his name is. I don't know. But, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna do the Pittsburgh by 3.5 for that one.
Wow, it's exactly what I had, and it's 4.5. So we push on that.
Ooh, you know what the 4.5 means?
That means they don't know what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
That's your theory? Yeah.
Yeah, we always said anywhere between 4.5 and 5.5. Vegas basically is throwing their hands up and saying we don't know.
Yeah, so we should probably stay away.
That's a stay away.
Okay, all right. Here's the one that killed me. Carolina at St. Louis.
Ooh. Is Torrey Holt playing?
I think he is. They're keeping it hush, but yeah, he had a sprain or something, right?
I'm gonna say that's St. Louis by 1.5.
All right. I said St. Louis by 4. Maybe that was a little high. It's Carolina by 1. So you win that one.
Really?
I mean, isn't this the same team? Aren't they both expected to win 8 games or something? Why isn't St. Louis favored here at home?
I don't like that Carolina team at all. I think that QB situation is just going to slaughter them this year.
Yeah, they'll have David Carr in there by week 3, right?
I'm shocked by that. And plus, St. Louis is pretty good at home.
I know. I'm off 5 points, but I don't like that one either.
Yeah.
All right. Miami at Washington.
Miami at Washington. I don't like either of these teams.
I nailed this exact.
Do you have to factor in the Trent Green concussion that's going to happen in the second quarter or no?
No, I don't think you have to factor that in.
Okay. I'm going to say Washington by 4.
All right. It's 3, and I said 3, so.
Really?
So I get that one.
So that means basically Vegas has decided, since the 3-point, you get 3 points for being at home, Miami and Washington are even.
Yeah, they don't care about this game. They just try to figure it out. Someone probably win by a field goal. All right, New England at the Jets.
I'm very worried. I feel like if the Pats can get by this game, we really might be able to go 10-0 to start the season.
Yeah, why not?
That's a tough one. I'm going to say New England by 4.5.
All right, don't do. See, this is what you're doing. I said 5.5, and it's 6.5. But this is a good team, this New England team. I'm not going to do this year if you pretend they're not a good team. They're going to slaughter the Jets.
I think they're a good team, but the Jets are a good team too. Why aren't the Jets good? I think the Jets are one of the top 8 teams.
But they're not going to lose this first game to the Jets. They've been preparing for this.
I'm very worried about Brady with this whole not illegitimate, whatever you call when you have a kid with somebody you just broke up with and she's very spiteful.
But doesn't have his last name. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's true. That was kind of a slap in the face to him, I thought.
You would think so. I don't know.
Did Travis Henry, does his 9 kids, do they have his name or no?
That's something else, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
The NFL is paying his child support. God bless him.
That was pretty good.
All right, Philly at Green Bay.
Do we know who's running the ball for Green Bay?
I think it's probably Brandon Jackson from Nebraska. I know they're like.
I feel like that's a stage name. I feel like they just start making up names like in Madden.
That's right.
Philly at Green Bay. Right?
Yep.
I'm going to say Philly by 3.5, and they're dying for us to take Green Bay in the money line.
Yeah, I had 3, and it actually ended up 3, so I did nail that one. But,
so what are we right now? What are we head to head right now?
I think 3 and you're wait a minute, 1, 2, 3. It's 5-3 me.
Oh man, I got to catch up. Okay.
Yeah, I like Green Bay in this. I know I hate the Eagles anyway, but this I just think it's the only way they're going to get Favre to retire if they win like 9 games this year. So.
Okay.
But Atlanta at Minnesota.
Ooh. Well, you know, I'm sold on this Atlanta team. Maybe the greatest test of the Ewing theory ever. And Tavares Jackson, I can't believe he's a starting QB. I'm in shock.
I know.
I'm going to say Minnesota by 3.5, and I'm already picking the Falcons.
You get that one. I thought it would be higher. I thought it would be 5, but it's actually 3. So you're closer there.
Watch out for that Falcons team.
Yeah, they're a juggernaut. Denver at Buffalo.
Wow, Denver has a habit of blowing these Week 1 games.
Yeah, that's true.
Denver by 3.
That's a good call. It's 3.5. I had it at 1. I don't know why. I just thought. I forgot it's not 20 degrees in Buffalo yet. So.
Right.
But yeah, sorry. So you win that one.
Okay.
KC at Houston rounds up the early games.
That's a terrible game. I love the Texans in this game. I'm kind of thinking the Texans could be a sleeper a little bit. Especially after watching Herm Edwards on Hard Knocks. Nobody's ever damaged his career more than Herm Edwards going on HBO.
How flattering is it when he sticks those skinny legs up there with the half socks on? It's like, what is it? What are you doing? Are we really supposed to believe that you were in the office 3 weeks trying to figure out if Damon Huard's your starter after Croyle wrapped the bed there?
He's agonizing over it. I think he should have gone with Brody Croyle just because he had a better looking wife.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I'm going to say Texans by 1, but I think this line will move to 3 by game time.
Well, you're closer than I said. It was a pick, and it's 2.5 actually. Houston by 2.5.
All right, so it's going to move to 3, and I think that's a bandwagon pick. I'm going to stay away from that one.
You've won the last 3, so we're close again here.
Okay.
Detroit. Now these are late afternoon games. There are 3 of them. Detroit at Oakland.
Ugh, that's a terrible game. Yeah. Well, you know I like this Raiders team, and I'm going to say Raiders by 1, and I'm gonna jump on the Raiders in that one.
You nailed it. It's exactly 1. I had 1.5, but yeah, that'll be our sleeper team, right? The Raiders.
Yeah, we like the Raiders. We like the Raiders a lot. I feel like you upgrade from Art Shell to anybody, and that's worth 5 wins.
Yeah, that's right. Chicago at San Diego.
Oh, so that's main screen at Jimmy's house.
Yeah, that's got to be big.
That's a nice one. I'm going to say San Diego by 3. I think those are even teams.
I said 3 also, and it's 6.
What?
Yeah, that seems high for Chicago to. I don't know. I thought they'd stick with them that game, but
maybe that's Rex Grossman on the road. That's the only reason.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's not very good, is he?
Yeah, he's not good. Yeah, we just learned that last year.
Maybe we look into that for another 2-team teaser.
You know what though, with this Rex Grossman thing, when the Pats they got blown out in the Super Bowl by the Bears, Super Bowl 20, and then we brought Tony Issa back as a starter the next year, and everybody's like, oh, he's gonna be terrible. His career was ended, and he was actually good the next season, and then self-destructed again. But I think Grossman might actually be good for like 10, 11 weeks before he self-destructs. I
say 10, 11 minutes, and then it's over.
Okay.
But we have the same number in our head. That's good.
Okay.
All right, Tampa Bay at Seattle is the last of the late afternoon games.
I think Gruden's going to be the first coach fired.
Really?
And I also, why are people not more excited about the Seahawks team? What am I missing?
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, Alexander did nicely last year, in the games he was in and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And they were legitimately banged up, and they had some chemistry problems that they solved. They're in a bad division. I like the Seahawks team. I'm going to say Seahawks by 8.
Well, you went a little high. It's 6. And I said 5.5, but
Wait.
I do. That's another 2-team teaser possibility there. I like Seattle.
Yeah, I like that. Wait, so we don't have a line that's higher than 6 yet?
Jacksonville's 7 over Tennessee.
Jeez, they're dying for the two-team teases this week. They're dying for us to do it. All right, keep going.
All right, Sunday night, Giants at Dallas. This is my team. I wish it weren't at night. This is too much pressure now. They could blow this.
How are you feeling about Romo on a scale of 1 to 10 right now?
I like him. I really do. I know you don't like the whole thing, but T.O.
No, I'm not against him.
T.O. tried to kill himself last year and still had 13 touchdowns. I think he gets in sync with these guys, and I don't know. I think he's better than we've had in the past.
Well, what are you going to do about the whole thing where Marion Barber is better than Julius Jones, but Julius Jones is the one that plays? Why hasn't that been solved yet?
Julius comes to the show a lot. I can't speak poorly about him. I hope Julius gets the stats. I don't know. I think that offensive line, Leonard Davis, it's a great signing, and the holes are there, and there's plenty of yards for everyone, I say.
Okay. Well, I don't like this Giants team, which puts me which gives me something in common with really the rest of the country. I just don't see them being good. I'm going to say Dallas by 6.5.
That's nice. I said 5, so you get that. The correct number is 6.
Another teaser.
6, yeah.
One of these 6-point underdogs is going to win outright, though. We just have to figure out which one.
Yeah, it always happens. All right, Monday, 2 games. Baltimore at Cincinnati.
I like this Baltimore team. Do you like this Baltimore team?
Yeah,
You've always liked them.
I do, and they lost. You guys got Valius Thomas, but I think their defense is supposed to be just as strong without him. Not just as strong, but won't drop off as much as they say.
You figure if the defense is 94% as good, but then the McGahee upgrade.
Yep, I could see this being a terrible game. One that like 12-9 in the fourth or something. I don't know.
I like it's in Cincinnati, right?
Yep.
I'm going to say Baltimore by 2.
Ooh.
What do you think of that?
Well, I said Cincy by 3.5. It's Cincy by 3.
Really?
Wow.
Why do people think Cincy's going to be good? I don't get it.
Awful lot there. I don't know. Maybe if Baltimore's out in their element and in the cold or something. I don't know why they. I don't know.
Wow, I was way off on that one.
And then the late Monday game is Arizona at San Francisco. Which I think will be more entertaining than the.
Yeah, that could be. There's also a lot of roto guys in that game potentially.
Oh yeah. Frank Gore might be the best roto guy this week.
Jeez. A lot of people on that San Fran bandwagon. I think the line is going to reflect that. I'm going to say San Fran by 5.
Well, I said San Fran by 6, so you're closer because it's only a 3-point spread. San Fran by 3. Yeah, isn't that something?
Wow. Every year people talk themselves into the Cardinals, and every year they just crap the bed. Nobody ever learns.
Yeah.
They're like the Clippers of the NFL.
With ties, we ended up, I had 10 wins and you had 9.
Oh, so you beat me.
I beat you in week 1. I think this is the only thing we should bet all year against each other. That's where we save money.
No, we're doing those teases.
We could talk about them, but do we really have to do them?
Wait, one more thing before you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Give me all the 6 and 7-point underdogs again.
6 and 7 underdogs? All right, New Orleans at Indy.
Okay.
Tennessee at Jacksonville.
All right.
New England at the Jets.
Right.
Chicago at San Diego.
All right.
Tampa Bay at Seattle.
Okay.
And Giants at Dallas.
So your best bets for the underdog cover to screw the tees, in my opinion, are either the Jets or Tennessee.
Yeah, I could see Vince Young doing some crazy stuff to start off. I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what? The other thing with Vince Young is because now that Vic is tragically out of the league, we don't really have that guy that you're afraid to bet against.
Yeah.
You know that one guy in the league that is just such an X factor, you don't feel good even when you have money against him.
That's true,
I feel like Vince might end up being that guy.
That could be it. Well, I think look for Del Rio maybe to get the axe, too, this year. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Del Rio, Joe Gibbs.
Yep.
Who I think is already retired mentally, but he's still showing up for the games.
I had to think about if you were trying to trick me or not. Yeah, I guess he is.
All right. Sal Icano, we will see you in week 2. You took the
buddy.
edge this week, but we're coming back next week.
Can't wait, pal.
All right. Take care.
Talk to you.
All right, now we're at the point in the show where I call my buddy Jacko, a diehard Yankee fan, and ask him if he's worried yet. My guess is after a sweep at Yankee Stadium, he's not really worried. But I'm a man, and I'm going to call him anyway, and we'll see how he feels.
Hello, John O'Connell.
Johnny.
Hey, what's up, Willie?
Are you worried yet? Apparently not.
No, not really, no. We left the lead in the wild card, baby. 5 games only separate us from the Red Sox.
You know what's sad about this Red Sox series?
Nothing.
No, for me personally, I went into it thinking I just want to win one of these games because I didn't like the pitching matchups at all because you knew Pettit was going to win. So then it really came down to Beckett Clemens. So I was hoping that Fat Trader would choke, which he didn't. And then Wang, the Chin-Ming Wang against Schilling was just a mortal lock. Do you guys feel like you have some life now?
I really do, yeah. Surprisingly, coming off of 16-0 defeat at the hands of the Tigers, looking as dead as a doornail 8 games out, and baseball things can change very quickly. So, yeah, the pitching was good. They got some timely hitting. Jabba, we love Jabba. So it was all good.
Jabba's been good. Jabba's kind of been the X factor because you didn't have that guy in the 8th inning.
No, and he's energized the bullpen. Certainly, he's a big improvement over Scott Proctor and Kyle Farnsworth, who unfortunately was involved this week. So,
well, the good thing was that from a Boston fan standpoint, J.D. Drew got his feet wet a little in crunch time. Hard to believe the signing didn't work out. We had fans from every fan base mocking us and laughing when we signed him for $70 million, and now everybody's like, "Wow, this guy stinks."
It's not a case of being surprised. Let me tell you, it's everybody on Earth called this ahead of time. So really, I'm shocked.
But statistically, you throw in his OPS, and the weird thing is that the rap on him was that he doesn't stay healthy, and he actually stayed healthy. He's just terrible.
Yeah, he's just not a lot of interest. Yeah, he's 1 for 30 at Yankee Stadium this season as a Red Sox.
You think that's a problem?
Well, it's your biggest rival. It's not great. No.
The one good thing is like to liven up the Sox games if you're looking for silver linings. Like when JD's up in a big spot, if you're with multiple people in the room, you can actually have a little gambling pool for the called third strike, the strike 3 swinging in the dirt, or the DP.
Yeah, he's really probably the least popular Red Sox that I can remember.
Well, the good thing is that we're just going to continue to keep him in the 5 spot because it's good when somebody's struggling to just.
Well, Manny's taken his normal Labor Day vacation, so you have to play him. I mean, who else are you going to play out there? They'll probably bring up Ellsbury tomorrow, right? September 1st.
Man, I hope
Jacoby.
so. Well, we had Bobby Kielty was showing a little life, and then he
ran into the wall.
Yeah, he hit the wall, and that was it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I think this was a little bit of an optical illusion because the pitching matchups were set up perfectly, and it's not going to work out that way in Fenway. I also Wong is somebody that I think pitches better home than on the road.
It's true.
The one guy that that Andy Pettit signing was great.
It's huge for them.
Yeah.
So clutch.
And it was like really fair money too. What was it, like 1 year, $16 million?
Yeah, and he has an option for next year. I think there's a player option for next year.
The thing that worries me about the Sox is we had these top 2 starters, Beckett and Dice, who statistically have been really good. I actually think Dice has gotten a little bit of a bad rap because I think he's been a little better than his record and some of the stuff that's happened during the games. Like
$100 million for a 500 pitcher. You could have got Gil Mesh a lot cheaper.
Well, but here's the thing. Like, I think these guys are better the worse the team is.
Yeah.
But going into Yankee Stadium, like Beckett was probably one of the leading Cy Young candidates, and I didn't have any confidence that he was going to shut the Yanks down. I don't feel like the Red Sox have that stopper, like that guy that when we absolutely need a win, the guy's going to come through.
And you don't have Pedro. You don't have Pedro circa 99, 2001 era. You don't have that. No, you don't have that guy.
Or even Schilling in 2004.
Right.
Because he was somebody that was that year he was stopping losing streaks, all that stuff. So that worries me. And the fact that we're not getting the clutch hitting, I'm on the Are You Worried Yet scale. I'm like an 8.5 this week.
Wow. I mean,
I really am.
The division is still. It's 5 games with 28 games to play. It looks good for the Sox to win the division, but
I'm not worried about blowing the division. I
just thinking about a playoff run of any kind.
Yeah, I like the bullpen. That's really the only thing I like. I don't know.
The problem with the team is it doesn't have any identity. You need Kevin Millar or Johnny Damon. You need like an idiot in there. Like, team doesn't have any fire, no clutch. Of course, now that I said that, they're going to win 10 games in a row because they're playing the Orioles and the Devil Rays or whatever. But it's just pathetic. And let me just say this outrage about Jabba throwing 2 over Euclid's head. The Yankees have been hit. They hit Jeter every single time they play. So for the Red Sox fans to be like going to the ramparts and going nuts because they threw 2 over Euclid's head is just absolutely infuriating to me and ridiculous.
I don't blame you because we've talked about this before. We make a habit of throwing at Jeter.
Every game he gets hit. He's got a freaking target on his back.
Yeah.
It's outrageous, and they threw 2 over Euclid, who, by the way, if it was half a man, would have yelled at Jabba instead of whining to the umpire immediately. If you look at the replays, he immediately turns to the umpire. God, I hate Kevin Euclid. I hate this Red Sox team so much. I can't tell you.
Well, the sad thing is I'm kind of almost there with you. The thing with Jabba, though, like you needed that kind of guy who was like a little bit of an intimidating force because Rivera is like...
Oh, yeah.
He's always been not one of those type of guys.
He's a born-again Christian, and he's very religious. And I love having a guy that can throw 100 miles an hour, you know?
Yeah.
You get nervous with Rivera throwing that cutter.
Jabba reminds me of...
The Yankees getting guys like Cabrera and Cano. They have like a little fire, like Cabrera wearing the sunflower seed box on his head yesterday. And
right.
Brought a little life to the team that used to be like robots, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think this Yankee team is... It came together a little late, but I feel like they're coming together a little bit. And plus, like, having Mike Messina murdered in the alley last night, I think was a really good move.
It's a great move by Cashman to finally take out that contract, yeah.
One last question for you. Yeah. Bronx is Burning.
Yes.
Finished this week. I was wondering if you saw the final episode.
I did indeed. I stayed with Bronx Burning right until the end. Although the last 2 episodes were really just a replay of the actual game call by Keith Jackson and Howard Cosell and Tom Seaver.
With shots interjected of John Turturro and the soul man Reggie Jackson.
That's exactly right. It was so odd. I mean, it was just like, I guess I could have just bought the DVD of the 1977 World Series and I wouldn't have had John Turturro's reaction shots, but I probably would have enjoyed it just as much.
Yeah, it was. I liked the split screen where they had Howard Cosell interviewing Steinbrenner, but they had Oliver Platt in as Steinbrenner just doing the interview.
Yeah, good. It was good special effects there. I think that was cool. Lucas Light and Magic or whatever that did that work.
So, what was your final grade after 8 episodes of Bronx is Burning, a miniseries that was clearly geared toward somebody in your age group who loves the Yankees?
Well, I was gonna give it a C+, but I think Turturro might raise it up to a B-.
Really?
I was into it. I mean, I liked the story of the 77 Yankees and the behind-the-scenes stuff. Oliver Platt still was terrible. And, you know, I think it was a little long. They caught the Son of Sam in about episode 3.
Yeah.
The blackout was like 10 minutes, and, you know, I'm not sure we quite had to stretch out the season this whole time.
I actually thought Bronx is Burning was longer than the actual 1977 season.
I think it might have been.
They could have replayed the games from that season. It would have been shorter.
If Turturro doesn't get an Emmy, though, there's just no justice. They shouldn't give one out. He was great as Billy Martin.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
He was really great.
And
Max Casella from Doogie Howser really has a great performance as Dick Howser. It was really moving.
And Norm Macdonald's brother is Joe DiMaggio. It was like he had come back to life. It was like Joe D had crawled out of a Mr. Coffee ad and he was back.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you. I look more like Joe DiMaggio than that guy did.
All right, Johnny. So I'm guessing you're a -5 or a -6 this week on a scale of 1 to 10.
I feel good. Yeah.
All right. We'll call you next week. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Target % off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.